Well, I think we shift gears, Damon. I think we go from the Damon and Brock playoff preview podcast to the Damon and Brock Championship National Title Preview Podcast. How's that sound?
The Natty. Are you freaking kidding me? Let's go.
Before we get to it and everything Michigan and all the good stuff, and I'm glad and fortunate once again to see a team that I got to see earlier this year in Michigan and a couple times last season as well, and feel like I know pretty well inside and out. Take me into the Sugar Bowl. Take me into the Dome. Take me into your experience wherever you want to start, from when you arrived to NOLA over the course of the weekend into Monday, into the final second, into the final snap. Walk me through your experience of Sugar Bowl Sunday.
I got to tell you, I've been so lucky first as a player to experience some awesome bowl games, the Rose Bowl, the Sun Bowl, but honestly, these last, 14, 15 years working there, we've pretty much been to every bowl game other than the Orange Bowl and the Sugar Bowl. And, the Husky Nation has never been to the Sugar Bowl. And when I tell you, and we talked about it, just how compact and close everything is down there.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I think if you talk to the 20,000 Husky fans that went down there and experienced this, they would tell you this was maybe the best fan bowl experience, bar none, that Husky Nation has ever had. Just being down there all together, compact, walking to Bourbon Street, walking to the French Quarter, walking to the stadium, walking to the tailgate, to the Civic Center for our New Year's Eve bash. I mean, it was a party from the minute we got there on Saturday till that final incompletion on Monday night. What a special time in New Orleans, the food, the people. And yeah, we were outnumbered 3, sometimes 4-1 by that ugly orange color. But I promise you, we certainly went all home much happier and just had the experience of a lifetime that no one's going to ever forget anytime soon.
I think as we're taping this, there's still some Husky fans down there trying to get out with the delays and everything that else that went on. And maybe, I don't know, they slept through it, their first flight, and they're trying to still get back. Tell me now, in stadium, if that was all the buildup and the pictures were great and the social media presence was awesome, and you did see a bunch of purple down there, how about in the stadium that day? Did it feel, because it felt from afar watching, I was up with Captain Tom and Shane Powell and enjoying it up in Marysville and Tom's home. In the building, did it feel 60, 70% Texas still?
We were outnumbered 3-1 for sure.
Was it really?
It was. But Husky Nation was alive and loud. And we had, reason to celebrate from the minute that the game kicked off, and we kind of set the tone. And, much like we did in that Pac-12 championship game, I mean, all the hoopla around the Longhorns and, this Husky underdog team, they've had too many close games all year. But we talked about it in our 3 episodes. This team was not going to go away. Yeah, it was going to get to the fourth quarter. But once again, it felt like we controlled and dominated that entire game from the open kickoff.
37 minutes time of possession. I mean, you look at a lot of the numbers, save for them being able to run the ball really well, which not a surprise. Sark's pretty good play caller. They're pretty talented, but 37 minutes time of possession. The ball was in the purple. Yeah, it was in their hands almost the majority of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it was so awesome for Husky Nation. We had the whole band there. Obviously sitting in the Husky section, but you looked around that stadium. I mean, it was that burnt orange and Matthew McConaughey and all that stuff. And I'll say this, they were actually pretty gracious losers, especially after 2 years in a row. It was that walk, that march back about a half mile to the hotel after the game, amongst so many of the Longhorn Nation. They were actually really congratulatory and just, we kicked their butt. We just did.
Yeah. Yeah. And the score, not necessarily indicative of it, right? It felt like the Huskies were in so much more control, 2-score game in the second half. And you felt like maybe even after that pass interference to Rome, you're like, man, is this going to be a 3-score win? Like, is this going to be a comfortable win? Is this going to be one that's not going to be decided by 9 points or 10 points or less like the last 10 games have? Are they actually going to be able to go down and score, control this ball, go up 20? Go up 20 on Texas in the fourth quarter?
Yeah.
And then they didn't. And they went for the haymaker, right? They try a couple little pass plays. They try to finish it there. They try to go up. Yep. And then they don't. and then
Yeah.
Texas drives down, and then they make it a one-score game, and then you're like, "Okay, okay, you got it now." You know what it's gonna come down to. Now it's gonna come
Yeah.
down
I
to
mean,
these final minutes and managing it.
yeah, and just so unfortunate the Dylan Johnson injury, obviously, everyone talking about that, but, that he doesn't get hurt. I mean, it's what, a 9-point victory? I mean, we're sitting here talking about which, almost double digits, which, my prediction was better than yours, by the way, 35-24. I think you were
Oh, I think
31-28.
mine was better. I think I was 31-28. I think I was better. I
Oh,
think
3
I
3
nearly nailed
oh,
it. Yeah.
well, maybe we're kinda right in the middle there, but, yeah, anyway, I was closer to our points scored, so there you go.
Oh, okay. You want the total score. Okay. Yeah, that's
Sure.
fine. Either way. I mean, I was closer in the actual, margin of
Really?
victory, and
Really? Well, how do you figure? You picked what? 31-28, that's 3. I went, uh,
31-28. What
I
was the
said
final?
35-24, yeah, I get
11. Yep.
okay, okay, but
Thank you, pal.
again, the injury, okay, then
Sure.
it's a 9-point victory, and that's
Well,
what it should.
the other thing, and you and I had talked about this after the game, and I think you felt the same way I did. Like, man, if this thing unfolds and they hit that touchdown pass and they win, this one is going to sting, I think, more than the Super Bowl loss with the Seahawks because
Yeah,
you didn't run it on third down and make them burn that second timeout. You did run into the punt receiver. You did unfortunately have an injury and stop the clock in 40 seconds. Like all of those things, the Seahawks was one play, one hellacious, awful play. That would have been looked back on Damon like that's 3 or 4 plays, some of which are in your own control. And you gave them that opportunity to go take it. But instead, number 25, just like Richard Sherman did in an end zone, tipping the ball away and knocking it away. Old Elijah stepped up right there in that moment, and you knew they were going to throw it, and you knew they were going to pick on him, and you knew it was going to be a one-on-one. And yeah, that kid, like this defense has done in the fourth quarter in a bunch of these games, found a way to deliver.
yeah,
What was your heart? What was your heart rate, by the way? What was your heart rate
I
on that
mean,
final
just
drive?
being in that stadium and, sitting in the section with all of our staff, and, I mean, we just it was wrapped up, and, Coach DeBoer and his wife and his girls were on the sideline, and we saw him, and, it's like, "Okay, it's getting ready to party and celebrate," and then, yeah, just but you know what? This team just they love the dramatics, and they love to keep us all on the edge of our seats and win in a dramatic fashion that, like, no one's ever gonna forget, and it made the game that much more interesting to walk off the field that way, and, yeah, what a
So
moment.
ultimately, how did they do it?
Okay.
Ultimately, give me 2 or 3 football reasons from your seat and your
Yep.
perspective being there, watching it. We talked about tackling. We talked about special teams. It played a role. Special teams fumble was huge, right? We talked about those big moments and taking advantage. What was Belichick and Chris
Okay.
Peterson? Special teams, turnovers, tackling. You
Yep.
won the turnovers 2-1. You forced 2 of those. I don't know if you win this game without forcing those 2 takeaways in the second half. Special teams, you gave them kind of that one back with the fumble and everything else. But from your perspective, give me 2 or 3 of the reasons why the Huskies are playing for the national title next week.
Absolutely. Number 1, we haven't even talked about it, it's kind of a crying shame. Michael Penix, number 9. His best game of the year, hands down, maybe his best game in a career as a Husky on the biggest stage. You talk about his pocket movement, okay? I mean, a couple of these times, like, "Oh, no, he's getting" oh, how did he get out? How did he keep his eyes up? How did he make that throw with that sort of accuracy? A couple of those long balls in this football, we talked about, "Yeah, they don't really give up the big play. We didn't do that last year." He was dropping dimes into coverage. I mean, and then when he had to run, which everyone said, "Oh, I don't know, he's not really a dual threat." He can be that running quarterback if you need it. Michael Penix played out of this world. I mean, there were maybe a couple throws he missed. The one to Devin Colt, maybe a little more air on it, or you can argue that one third down, we didn't convert early in the game and he kind of was on the run, maybe a little hot, a little wide, but like the guy was almost perfect. And I think, it reminded me a
On
lot
that
of
stage. On
yeah,
that
on that
stage.
stage, which is not easy to do. All that
Yep.
pressure, everything on the line, you
70%
know,
Texas fans, noise,
ar
volume,
all of
intensity,
it.
all
It
of
was
it.
so
Yep.
loud when that Husky offense had the ball, and, the way he performed, he made a lot of money that day. That's number 1.
Mhm.
Number
Okay.
2, the other guy that's gonna make a lot of money off this performance, Brillion Trice. Are you
Yes.
kidding me? I mean, you really watch that defense, and
Yep.
this guy was in the backfield the entire game. I mean, he disrupted things. He got them behind the 8 ball so many times on first down or second and short when they tried to throw the ball play. And you put them in those long yardage situations, and I think that's really where Texas struggled. We talked about
Yep.
that.
Third
Their
downs,
third
right?
down conversions,
Yep.
you could go back, and if you broke that whole thing down, so much of it's going to be Braylon Trice. I know he had a couple of sacks, but the quarterback pressures, the hurries,
8 pressures, 8
eight
pressures,
pressures. Are you kidding me?
2 sacks,
I
forced
saw a couple
fumble,
of guys
fumble
that
recovered.
there's a reason that these NFL defensive ends are paid so much money. I was around a couple
Yep.
of great ones, Hall of
Mhm.
Famers. Jason Taylor, Jared Allen is going to be a Hall of Famer one day, and they literally could can win and change the whole football game. And I think number 8, number 9, you made a lot of money and you made Husky history. And wow, what a performance
Yeah.
by those two kids.
No, I totally agree. And maybe I was a little annoying watching it with Captain Tom because I kept getting up in my horse stance multiple times. And in big moments, I'm like, right here. And I'm circling on, even though it's not a telestrator, it's just his big old TV screen. I'm like, watch this guy, like right here. Braylon, you got to step up, like right now. And remember, their left tackle, he's a sophomore. They're going to be a first round pick the following year. He is an immensely athletic, talented guy. The right tackle is a 6-year starter that started 50 games for them. So he's not taking on slappies. He's taking on like talented, very athletic players and just they couldn't block him. He can constantly compress that. And you know that, Damon. The opposite for Penix. Like Rosengarten and Fautanus, just they set an edge and it gives you a pocket. So, okay, so there's a little rush. I'll slide. Oh, there's
Yeah.
a little rush. I'll step up. Okay, there's a little, a stunt and they bring an extra guy. I'll move over. Like it didn't matter.
Yeah.
His group gave him lanes and opportunities. And multiple times, as you said, 8 pressures for Braylon, just suffocating the air. And
Mhm.
then you just watch, like, and Salk said this a lot this week, but just watch the composure and the poise of Penix versus a very talented thrower in yours. But
Yeah.
his poise and composure and pocket presence is just not anywhere close to what number 9 delivered.
No, it really wasn't. And he's really got that sidearm kind of three-quarter delivery, Quinn Ewers,
Yep.
and he's not 6'3" like Mike. And there were, what, 3 or 4 balls batted down as well. Maybe it was 2 or 3.
Tipped. Yep.
Tip balls, those sorts of things. And those things make a big difference, right? And probably plays into their third down issues there at Texas for Sark.
Did you feel some of the chip on the shoulder of these guys when you were down there? I know the team flew in, and it's going to be the same case this week, and we'll spin to Michigan in just a second. But these guys love being underdogs. Everybody always talks about underdogs. Well, it's in the name, it's in the mascot. They are once again going to be the underdogs. I was looking at ESPN's projections, 75% to 25% favor, 4.5 points once again in Vegas. The consensus of most of the talking heads and everything else out there is, yep, this is Michigan, just like it was with Texas, very similar numbers in all of those ways. You kind of get the sense that this team, as veteran as they are, you told us last week, 9 6th-year seniors on it. They're grown men, they're professionals. But do you feel like they kind of like those 2012, 2013, 2014 Seahawks? They just like playing with that chip on their shoulder.
100%. I mean, it's kind of like, not necessarily nothing to lose, but yeah, they're the underdog and most of America roots for the underdog, right? Like certainly, I mean, yeah, and it's bulletin board material for you as a staff, right? And
Mhm.
these are just kids. And we have a few grown-ups, as you just mentioned, but yeah, all that stuff feeds into just the team, the feeling, the energy, the all of it, right? And you can use that. I been a part of that. One time in New England in '01 for sure. We were 13-point underdogs in the Super
The
Bowl. And
biggest in Super Bowl history or one
yeah,
of them. Yeah.
yeah, like there's something about that unites your team. Like we're the underdog and no one's giving us a chance out there, the pundits, the critics, the media, but the fans are all kind of pulling for us. And
Does
so
this team remind you of that '01 team at all? Is this team
uh
just with their grit and their resolve? Because let's face it, man, like
yeah.
defensively, other than Braylon Trice, how many guys are going to be playing on Sundays on this defensive team?
Yeah,
Not
hard to say.
many.
No,
That's not
yeah,
not
there's some young
many.
guys, there's some guys that have some talent, but for sure,
Yep.
Braylon is a guy that,
He's the one he's the straw that stirs the whole thing. The sum of all the parts are so much better than just the
Muhammad had a
individual
great game
talents.
corner as well,
Yes,
I
he did.
thought.
Yes, he did.
He's a
Yes, he did.
Sunday guy,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's, Yeah, they just
And
find a
offensively, you know, that '01 team obviously was different. Tom
we
was a
weren't great on
rookie.
offense, but our defense was kinda like our offense back
Correct.
then. And so, yeah,
But you
it's
just
character.
believed. You
You just
just
believe
believed.
you're gonna
You
find a way
just
to win.
found you
That
exactly, you found a way.
someone was gonna step up to make a play when they had
Yep.
to win the game,
Yep.
and that's what these guys do, and it's just so fun to watch, and what a time to be a Husky.
I mean, we just keep talking about this, and we keep saying it, and, you know, had we hung out in August, maybe we did, and I don't remember talking about it. I thought this team, they went 11-2 last year. I thought they could go 11-2 this year.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tougher in that schedule and the conference and everything else, and SC and Oregon and Oregon State and Utah and all that gauntlet that we talked about and everything within the conference. And, you know, like they got to stay pretty healthy. And Mike's been healthy, and most of the offense been fairly healthy this season. And there've been some bumps and bruises defensively, but they've survived and weathered it. But Damon, this team is 14-0. This team is
It's unbelievable.
14-0.
And you sort of touched base on it, Brock, but that statistic, talk to me now, was it the last 9 games have been decided by 10 points or less for the first time since 1973. The year I was born, that was 50 years ago. That tells me one thing and one thing only. This team is so well coached. This team is so good in situation football in all these close games. When you have to make those plays and those tough decisions, whether or not to go for it on 4th down, and what play to call, and what defense to call, what blitz to bring, what coverage to play. This coaching staff rises to the occasion like none I have ever seen in America in 50 years to win these close games.
That's a
Unbelievable.
that's a great point, and I thought Kalen hit on it. You know, unlike the gentleman that you and I played for that share the same DNA and the same bloodlines in high school, who tended at times to be Lou Holtzian and tended at times to think about the negative and pessimistically, you know, optimistic, as he used to say and like to say. A little different situation with Kalen, and he said it after the game on the field, being interviewed, and just said, "We don't think about negative thoughts. We don't think on the negative end. We don't think like maybe I did, you know, that night, and maybe thousands of Husky fans and hundreds of thousands of them thought like, oh no, they're going to score right here. Oh no, they're going to complete this pass. Oh
Are they
no,
going to cook it? Are they going to cook it?
hey, we don't say that. You know, we got people in
Love
that
it.
building that are Cougs. Some of our beloved friends that are in that building are Cougs, right? But they're not wired that way. And I thought that was so powerful. And we've certainly seen Pete Carroll emphasize the same thing. Well, think about the downside. I'm not sitting there playing scared. I don't play with a sense of fear. I don't think about the negative of what can happen in that moment. We're wired, we communicate, we're built to find a way to win. And the team has done it.
Yeah, and that just stems from the head coach all the way down.
And do they have one more in them?
I really do. How are you going to bet against this team? Okay, let's just start where it all starts and ends, the quarterback position.
Okay.
If you've got to pick your quarterback for the national championship game, uh, who are you picking? And is it even close?
Well, this one's close. This one would be closer than Milrow. It would be, you know, closer than Quinn Ewers. This kid's 26-1. I mean, I've seen JJ. He runs 4.4. He battled injury this year. No one talked about it. He plays in a very, very pro style. He does not get volume. You know, you're going to throw it 20 times. You're going to run it 35 straight times against Penn State and swallow your stats and your pride to play to win. And he plays to win. He is a South Side of Chicago tough hockey player. He is. And that team believes in him, and the head coach believes in him. So there's a belief system in him that does parallel Michael Penix. He's lost one game as a starter. He's elevated that program. So this one is not as big a disparity as it would have been, honestly, if it was Milrow or what we saw with Quinn Ewers. So that one is why, once again, this is going to be a one possession game.
Yep.
Once again, it's going to go to the fourth quarter. And Damon, for the first time, and this is what's so beautiful about 14-0, 14-0. You
Yeah.
have two teams that are so culturally sound,
Mhm.
that know exactly who they are, and that both, when you listen to them in those post game, like, we love each other, we play for one another, and we are totally built on like resolve and grit and toughness. And man, it's going to be an unbelievably competitive scene in Houston on Monday night.
Yeah, and how fitting it's the Michigan Wolverines for the national championship as the
So good.
Dawgs beat 32 years ago in the Rose Bowl for their last national championship. They get a shot at the blue and maize or gold or whatever they call themselves in that ugly
Oh, blue
helmet.
mace, you nailed it.
It's kinda
Yep,
like a
you got it.
backwards jock strap on a helmet to me if I try to understand what that thing is.
Sure, yep.
But,
Yeah, Bellevue
yeah,
Wolverines
and
fans not happy with you either, so you've taken shots at the
and
Cougs
that's
and
fine.
Bellevue Wolverines.
And I
Yep.
know these Michigan fans are everywhere. They're all over the country. They're trying to
Mhm.
destroy the ticket market for our fans down there because they had an early bite at the apple with the Rose Bowl finishing before our game. But
But our
I
20,000 sold, right? You got the 20,000
know
sold like that.
telling you Husky Nation will be there. My phone, I got 500,000 ticket requests from every former dog who's ever put on the purple and gold, and I love it.
Yep,
Get down there. Let's make this happen. But,
yep.
yeah, what a matchup. Pac-12, Big Ten. Uh, it's the way the end of the Pac-12 era should go. The University of Washington playing Michigan for all the marbles. I can't wait, and it's gonna be here fast. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
turnaround, and what a challenge. And who's gonna tackle that the best? Both teams had a long flight home from, where they were and then obviously
Yep.
get right back down there on Friday. I mean, wow, what a turnaround, what an opportunity. Like I said earlier, what a time to be a Husky. Are you kidding me?
It's incredible. I mean, to write the final chapter of the conference,
Yeah.
something we've not really even talked about over the last month, but to write the final chapter of this conference, so unbelievably fitting to do it against a Big Ten foe that you have played in the Rose Bowl before, right? That's been a Titan, that's the winningest program in college football history, and all of that. And you get a chance. Yeah, you'll see them next fall, right? I know they're coming to Seattle next fall, and hopefully they're coming, licking their wounds, wanting a little redemption because they didn't finish what they think that they have started with Jim Harbaugh and everything else. It is, yeah, it's not maybe what the city of Houston wanted or some of those folks. They would have loved Tuscaloosa and loved, Austin coming to town, a little easier drive for both of
Oh, the
them.
poor SEC. You're not making it to the national championship game. I'm so
Oh, boo
sorry.
hoo. No, you're not. Nope. Instead, it's two Titans that are 14-0. And if the Huskies get this done, Damon, there will be no argument. This will be the greatest season in the history of the school. And to go 15-0 ever again is going to be very, very, very difficult to do. And they got a shot to do it, 3 hours to do it. And more than likely, the ball will be in Penix's hands for the final drive to go and finish the story. Been awesome, bro. Been fun. We'll do this one more time for sure to wrap up the season.
I think we need to
And
do it live from the Husky Victory Parade in downtown Seattle. That's the only fitting way that this
okay,
playoff national championship podcast comes to an end is at the
okay.
parade. Let's make that happen.
Well, let's make it happen. You'll know some of those details of time and place before anybody else. So we will find a way to make that happen. Appreciate it, bro. We will see you this time instead of me being from afar, watching in Marysville, Tom and Shane and the rest of them, which was great. This time I will be down in the house and can't wait for it. Go Dogs.
Be a blast. Love you, dog. See ya.